Hey guys, welcome into this Y'all Politics broadcast. I'm Frank Corder with Y'all Politics, and joining me today is PSC Commissioner Brandon Presley. Commissioner Presley, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Frank. Sorry for the trouble getting logged on, but I appreciate your patience.
Well, we thank you for taking the time this morning after Thanksgiving to kind of talk to us about a number of things. But first, I kind of wanted to ask you, how are things going with the Public Service Commission and what's on the horizon?
Well, I think things are going really well. I've really appreciated the good working relationship that I've had with Commissioner Maxwell and Commissioner Bailey. I think we're probably a good example of bipartisanship at its best, trying to get results for the people of Mississippi, in really trying to improve their quality of life, whether it be broadband expansion, natural gas expansion, of course, keeping utility rates low and understanding the effect that they have on our businesses and our family budgets. So things are going well. We've got a lot of good work done in 2020, even with the pandemic and all the challenges that it brought about. I think we've shown some good leadership there, and I look forward to 2021 and the years ahead.
So let's talk for a second about the broadband. That's been a big topic this year, especially with distance learning and everyone kind of working from home during this pandemic. Where does that stand as far as all the money that was put into the expansion of broadband this year?
Well, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to Lieutenant Governor Hoseman and Speaker Gunn, members of the legislature, for working so hard with us to create that $75 million grant program that is utilizing federal funds. But really, the bigger picture on the horizon, Frank, is going to be the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, which is actually that reverse auction is running right now. And Mississippi, by some estimates, shows that we could benefit up to $940 million in broadband expansion funds coming from the FCC. Now, the commission plays a very integral role in that because under both federal and state law, the Public Service Commission has to designate those companies that win those bids and win those grants as being eligible to take them. So our job is oversight, is to make sure that the consumer protection is in place. And so we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us. Hopefully, we're going to get more than $940 million. We don't know right now how that number is going to shake out. But that is going to be I think, probably the biggest injection of funds that's come nationwide. But again, we cannot understate the value that our legislature showed in getting these funds out through the COVID-19 coronavirus relief funds. It's making a heck of an impact. It's helped Mississippi, for instance, get ahead of the curve on workforce, actually boots on the ground doing this work, but
Right.
also, we're all seeing supply chain problems throughout the world right now. And so we're able to avoid some of those. But the big enchilada, if you will, is going to come in the next few months with RDOF. But we've got a good head start, again, thanks to the work of the legislature, and particularly, the two chairmen, Joel Carter in the Senate and Scott Bounds in the House, Delbert Hoseman and the Speaker of the House, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman and Speaker of the House Gunn, both were in the weeds helping make that program successful.
The other things that's been on kind of the radar is the no call list and everyone getting bombarded, especially this time of year,
Yeah.
with those calls. Where does that stand right now?
Well, one of the I guess if you could find a positive in this virus that we've all gone through has been that for a while telemarketers seem to have stopped. I don't know why that was, but it seemed to have died down. That has popped back up as an issue. These folks are criminals. Let's just tell it like it is. They're not
Yeah.
Sunday school teachers. They're not calling to check on you to make sure you're getting your Social Security check. They're calling to steal from the people of Mississippi. So a couple of things that I think are very helpful is we have a no-call app that we created where Mississippians can go to MS No Call both in iTunes or in Google Play. It's free. It shows the commission seal. If you find that seal in that app store, you'll be able to download it for nothing. You can register your number from there, but even more importantly, you can report these telemarketers from your phone. It takes about 10 seconds to report them to us. That's what we rely on for our investigators to go out and investigate these cases. And, again, we're dealing with criminals. We're dealing with folks who are not looking to do right. So it's a challenge sometimes in collecting fines and really the prosecutions of these, but we're going after them. One of the things in our office that we have tried to take it to another level is we're partnering with our district attorneys and the U.S. Attorney's Office here and other federal and state law enforcement, Attorney General's office, to actually share information on the folks that are really committing fraud. 99% of these calls involve a criminal element now. Very few are calling really just to advertise you some sort of product. They're calling to advertise product, but the product doesn't exist,
Right.
or they're there to steal. So we felt like that it's very important. Commissioner Maxwell's worked well with us on this, and Commissioner Bailey also, that we share this information with law enforcement. We actually have in our office here a certified law enforcement officer who works these cases, and so we've been able to make some progress on it. But obviously, this is not a problem that goes away. One of the big upsides has been some work that the FCC has done in some of their rules that they've put out on tracing these type of calls, and so we're working hard to participate with them and just encourage all Mississippians to download that app, report those calls to us. You know, back when we were able to go speak to civic clubs, Frank, I used to tell people if you came home
Right.
and your weed eater's stolen, and you don't call the sheriff and tell them your weed eater's stolen, the sheriff don't know. Well, if you get these calls and we don't know about it, we have no way to investigate it. So we encourage Mississippians to call us and report them.
During the 2020 session, everyone kind of took a hit, if you will, to your budgets. Do you think that has impacted your office's ability to respond or to provide services? And are you looking forward to kind of getting some more funds back into your office during this next session?
Well, we'll see where that goes in the legislative process. There are always obviously needs that I think probably every state agency has that are very important. We were able this year, even in the midst of the virus and in the midst of uh, the funding issues that we've seen throughout the state, to keep our operations going. Our folks don't, our employees don't whine. To quote Governor Barber, we just hitch up our britches and go to work. And so,
Right.
we'll see what happens in the legislative session, and always, my now going on 13 years on the commission, we've tried to be mindful of the bigger budget picture in the state, and we're all Mississippians, and so it's a all hands on deck type of approach. Every state agency, I think, probably could come to the table with a wish list, but I think that we're going to work hard with our legislators, showing the work that we've done, and we'll see where that ends up.
Let's talk politics just for a second. We just came through an election cycle, very contentious on a national level. From your perspective, where do you think Mississippi stands in relation to the national politics of the day after this general election?
Well, I mean, Mississippi obviously voted for President Trump overwhelmingly. I think that a couple of things that really stuck out to me in this election was, of course, the flag vote, which was resounding to approve the new design of the flag. I think there was some thought that that might be close. It didn't end up. The ending of the Jim Crow segregation, very contentious portion of our state constitution on the House districts and being elected statewide. And then, of course, medical marijuana being an issue that passed overwhelmingly. Mississippians are no doubt conservative by nature. I think that is a big part of our politics. Those of us in the Democratic Party are even way more conservative than probably on the national scale that you would see. I think that we've got some good folks in place. You've got Senator Roger Wickers, chairman of the Commerce Committee in the Senate. Depending on how those two races in Georgia shake out, we'll see where that ends up. Congressman Thompson being chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the House. I think Congressman Thompson is one of the most senior members there now. And I think that Mississippians expect, and I do as a taxpayer, take off my political hat, my PSC hat a minute. I expect the parties to get along and us to try to find solutions that improve the daily lives of the average Mississippian. And no party's right all the time. No party's wrong all the time. There's got to be that cooperation. And that's the attitude that I've tried to have at the PSC, where the issues that come before us, Frank, are issues that affect the daily lives of Mississippians. And there's not a Republican way or a Democratic way to get a broadband connection to somebody's house in rural Mississippi. We're all in this together. And I hope that we can see that kind of cooperation go forward on the national scene. I'm pretty pessimistic as to how that shakes out, because we've all, no matter what side of the political aisle you sit on, you anticipate the gridlock. But I think most Americans and most Mississippians, get pretty sick of that. They want to see something produced for the people.
As far as going forward in this next session in 2021, what are you advocating for that may be of interest to our viewers?
Yeah, so broadband is always going to be a topic. We want to see how this federal auction shakes out, where those dollars come in. Efforts to expand those are going to be very important. One of the things that last year we had hoped to get done that didn't make it across the finish line, that we have hopes will be done this year, is an issue related to many of our electric companies, Entergy and Mississippi Power, both have dark fiber, meaning that's fiber optic cable that is in the ground. They're using maybe a minuscule portion of that for their electric operations, but it's going through rural areas where people could be benefiting from that infrastructure,
Sure.
except for an arcane state law that needs to be revised. Now, we've worked hard with both the chairman of the committees and the presiding officers of both houses on this bill to try to make sure that infrastructure can be utilized by all Mississippians. Right now, there has to be a change in the law on that, and I'm hopeful that we can get that done. That will open up hundreds of miles of fiber optic cable throughout the state. There's been, some anticipated opposition by some on this bill, but it makes sense. Alabama took our lead on an example that the PSC put together with C Spire and Entergy a couple of years ago. The Alabama legislature actually got ahead of us on that, but we've had really good dialogue with both chambers on this bill and both committees, and hope that can be something that we get out the door this year and, in fact, get done. I think that would be a major step forward. Doesn't cost anybody anything in the sense of this infrastructure is either being built or is already there. But there's some technicalities in the law that have to be changed to be able to get the full potential for the people of the state. That's something to me that's a common sense measure that needs to come out the door.
So just to wrap up here, I've got to ask, you're one of three Democrats now in state government. Of course, Congressman Thompson, Commissioner Simmons on the Transportation Commission, and then yourself. What does the future hold for Brandon Presley? I mean, where are you looking next to serve?
Frank, I tell people I don't even buy green bananas. I don't know if I'll be around to see them get ripe. So, I was elected mayor when I was 23 years old and studied politics long before that. Every politician that I've seen that screws up the job that they're in starts looking at the next job they want. And I've never done that. I think it's important. Obviously, you've got to be ready for reelection or whatever the future
Sure.
holds. But, I think it's important to do the job at hand in front of you and see what shakes out in the future. I feel like we've got such a good head of steam built up in this state to really turn the corner when it comes to broadband connection and winning the future in a digital economy. Quite frankly, most of us couldn't even dream would have been possible 2 or 3 years ago. I don't want to get my eyes off the prize of getting that done, trying to chase some political rabbit that you might not catch.
Well, I've also got to ask this because you are one of the senior members of your party. Where does the party go from here in this state?
Well, I think that, in my opinion, I believe that it's very important that the party look at and be sober about the results, be sober about where Mississippians stand, and just I don't even like to get into the political partisanship things, but obviously there are issues out there that Mississippians don't agree with the National Democratic Party on,
Right.
and that I don't agree with the National Democratic Party on. And I think you have to recognize that. Having said that, I think that we've seen a good leadership throughout Mississippi on our local level, particularly. We've got a lot of good Democratic tax cutting mayors out there that are working to improve their communities and on the local level what they're doing. But it would be living in a dream world to come out of this election thinking that somehow there's a rosy picture for Democrats in Mississippi. The issue is winning back the trust of the people and making sure that Mississippians understand that there are common sense, bipartisan solutions to things. And I just think that whether it be a working family on the coast or a working family in the Delta or in the hills or wherever, they want results. And that doesn't come with an R or a D beside it necessarily. It takes everybody working together. And so, sure, there are challenges ahead, but I think also that there are opportunities, and a lot of that involves reaching across that aisle, being an adult in politics, putting aside some of this silliness that I think no matter how you vote in the presidential election, if you just tested it anonymously, people think some of this stuff gets out of hand. That we've got to pull together and work together. At the end of the day, I ask myself two questions usually when I go about trying to do my work as public service commissioner. Number one is what I'm doing today in the best interest of the people of Mississippi? And number two is what I'm doing today in the best interest of the children who are growing up in Mississippi? If we can check those boxes, I think that no matter what your political party label, you can make some headway for the people of Mississippi. And at the end of the day, that's what they expect.
Well, we really appreciate you taking time with us this morning, Commissioner Presley. And look, I personally appreciate your friendship and your
Yes,
willingness
sir.
to come on and talk with us. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. And we thank you also for watching here on Y'all Politics. And also always follow us on y'allpolitics.com and across all of our social media platforms. And we'll see you next time.